Oh man. All right. Oh, good morning, guys. I'm here. Oh. So let's see. Nvidia back up to 120s. It was looking weak yesterday. It looks like it bounced all the way back yesterday. Today we got jobless claims, unemployment filings coming out. Pretty big day. Pretty big report, but tomorrow's the largest report. So I do think we might get like kind of choppiness today. Maybe I'm wrong. I have no idea what we're gonna get really. But I do think we could get choppiness today. Jobless claims, unemployment filings. We'll see what that shows up. All right. We'll put this banner up. Jobless claims expected today. They drop at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, they're expected at... We got the Challenger job cut data supposed to drop right now too. Jobless claims expected at 222K. There we go. Yeah, so jobless claims expected at 222. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, I'm trying to look at the hurricanes in the Gulf. Florida is going to bear the brunt of the hurricane next week. Yeah, it's weird though. It's October now. When does hurricane season end? Hurricane season ends November 30th. Ugh, we're still in it, I guess. Let me check back up in the chat. What's up, Bobby? Need the SPY to tank below 565s. Well, yeah, Nvidia's back up today. The SPY at 567s. So the SPY could be worse. It's not too bad. It could be worse. If we look at like a 15-minute chart, it's down a little bit in the last 5 days, but it's not horrible. Like it could be, it's not like brutal red action. It's just kind of a small dip. The lifetime highs on the SPY are up here at 575. You know, so the lifetime highs are right here. So, you know, we're down over the last couple days, but we're still okay, I think. It's not like we're crashing down. People like to sensationalize things, but it's not like we're crashing down or anything. Yeah, so we're looking at these storms that are planning to hit. Let me use AI here. I'm pretty sure I could use AI to kind of figure out. Yeah, so We're checking this up again. Challenger job cuts just came out. They came out lower than expected at 72,821. So around 73,000 for the job cuts. Last time they showed up at 76,000. So job cuts came in a little bit under expected. I wonder if the SPY is going to move on this report. It looks like it moved up a little bit. This is not a big report. Jobless claims drops again in about an hour, almost exactly an hour. Yeah, so I'll put a timer up. Yeah, so we'll put the timer up. So yeah, we got 57.5 minutes basically right now. Put this timer up right here. Make sure y'all can see it. Yeah, y'all can see it. Okay, good. Yeah, I might have to switch my keyboard out or buy like a silent keyboard, I guess. Berkshire Hathaway sells more Bank of America stock, bringing stake closer to 10%. They kept its stake in Bank. So Berkshire cutting their stake in BAC, selling 8.5 million shares for about $338 million and dropping its interest in the bank to 10.2%. I'll write that out. Yeah, they sold 8.5 million shares for just under $440 million. Effectively cutting its stake down to roughly 10.2%. Meta losing the trend. Yeah, here's the thing, right? Like, so here's the truth, right? Like, I looked this up yesterday, I looked this up yesterday. So Mark Zuckerberg is supposedly like a jiu-jitsu guy, right? I saw him roll with Lex Friedman, and he's supposed to be like a blue belt, almost purple belt, but I saw him roll with Lex. And, like, he looks like he's got some experience. I don't know if he's a blue belt, though. You know, maybe I'm just overly judging. It could be because it's also very, very possible that it was no-gi. And so no-gi jiu-jitsu is just, like, a different thing. But whenever I looked at him roll no-gi, you know, yeah, I'm trying to be nice here. Like, here's another example. If you ever see Ashton Kutcher roll, Ashton Kutcher is supposed to be a purple belt or a brown belt. He does not look like a brown belt to me. Like, I'm pretty sure I could beat Ashton Kutcher, you know, and I'm a white belt. And so, I don't know if it's, like, very common for celebrities to, like, their instructor just wants them to keep paying them, so they just kind of, oh, you're a purple belt now, you're a blue belt now. And they know they're not really going to test themselves against anybody super significant, and so they just kind of do it. But yeah. Yeah, again, market's up, though. Nvidia up to 120.50s. SPY at 568s. Tesla at 246s. Honestly, I'm pretty sure I'd probably beat him. You know, no offense to him. He seems okay. He knows some stuff. If it's no-gi, I'd definitely beat him. You know. Because Lex seemed like he was being nice to him. Like Lex, if you look at, there's like video footage of Mark Z and Lex rolling. Lex actually looked pretty good. So Lex Freeman, you could tell he trains, and like his technique is very good. But Mark's it wasn't like he did something. He had like butterfly hooks. He got his butterfly hooks in, which is great, and he did okay there. And I'm not gonna call it a single leg. He would do like a leg pick where he grabs the leg and then But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if Mark was trying to flow roll too, but he just seemed. I don't know. And then but I also saw him roll against somebody in a competition with a gi, and in a gi he looked much better. So I think maybe it's just no gi, Yeah. You know who's really legit is Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy's actually legit. You can see him when he rolls. Like, he's legitimately good. Legitimately good. Anyways, today we got jobless claims. We have the ECB policy meeting data too. So the ECB is gonna publishes, like, it's kind of like their Fed minutes report, but it's for the ECB. Right, that's today. We also have later on ISM. We have ISM PMI data today. Wait. I thought it was ISM Services. Yeah, so we have ISM Services data today. ISM non-manufacturing is what it's called. It's services data. So. All right, SPY coming back up is at 568. So we'll see if the jobless claims data in about an hour helps this report. I had a massive argument with the graphic designer. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, little troll guy that came back. Again, I feel for you, man. Like, I really do. If you think that I can't judge somebody in their skill based off of like a 5 to 10 minute video of them rolling, of course I can, Like, of course you can. Either way, it's unhealthy, Like, you behaving this way is unhealthy, man. Like, I hope you figure out whatever you're missing in your life, because I feel for you, man. Like, I wish you the best. I really do. I hope you get it figured out because, spending your life, you're obviously, what this means, like, this person shows up maybe like at least once every few days. You're watching my stream all the time. So, like, why are you watching somebody that you dislike? I get it. It might hurt. Like, it might hurt deep inside. But it's okay. Like, I'm here for you, man. I'm definitely the top 3 greatest jiu-jitsu practitioner in the world. I'll tell you that. But yeah. What's up, Freddie? Good morning, man. What's up, Radical? Yeah, I think it had to be an honorary belt for sure. Offer a jiu-jitsu match with Mark Z. I'm confident in my jiu-jitsu skills. I certainly don't be like, listen, I tap all the time. I tap constantly. I rolled yesterday. Who did I roll with? I rolled with my new coach, and he's not the biggest guy. This dude's probably like 140 pounds, right? But he felt like he was 300 pounds. Like, he was just good, man. Like, no matter what, he's fast too. So no matter what I try to do, he would reverse it and just beat me up, you know. But I guess that's probably why he's the coach. Find your Zen? Yeah, man. Top 3 psychologists ever. Definitely top 3-ish. Right, it's just unhealthy, right? Like, spending the time creating fake accounts, getting banned, and then still obsessively watching the stream. I mean, I'm sure what they want is for me to comment on it, which is fine. Like, it'll give me content to talk about, to be completely honest. But it obviously is unhealthy. And it usually, again, my theory is the only people that I would think would be driven to behave this way are people that I either know in real life and that they're just so insecure about their current position in life that, you know, they're driven to just hope they can make me kind of unhappy. Which really, it makes me feel good, to be honest. Like, it genuinely makes me feel good knowing that just my presence on social media makes people, you know, might make somebody get weird like that. Honestly, it's kind of an ego boosting thing almost, if I'm being honest. But back to the point, I feel for them, man. Like, again, they've got to really be struggling, you know, like really be struggling. I know a couple people who wanted to create like a social media brand. One of them about like music. Right, and so I know some of them could behave this way, if, you know, they see me on YouTube and they're not really where they want to be there, and that might kind of hurt or whatever. And then there's a couple people that I've worked with in the past. One of them's like now divorced. You know, he's just kind of an alcoholic. Like, I feel for him too. You know, I don't know who it is, but let it out. I'm okay. We can talk about it. It'll give me something to talk about here. Or they're losing in the market and I'm bitter. Yeah, that's possible too, you know. But again, like, coming from me, I don't even tell people I'm good. Bitcoin's still at 61,000. So Bitcoin, the problem with Bitcoin in my strategy here, and I've thought about this strategy a lot. With Bitcoin, it's been choppy for almost a year straight now. Like, look at this. So here's a daily chart on Bitcoin. It's been sideways for almost a year straight. You know, so wouldn't the best bet here be to buy the bottom of this trend? What I'm worried about, though, is that you can see the obvious trend here. You can see the obvious trend. But what I'm worried about is that I feel like the one time I'm going to end up buying this bottom, it's just going to end up dumping under this trend line, and I'm going to get stuck in like a big losing trade. You know, that's what I'm worried about. And who knows, you know, what would happen. I know there's also ways you can short the top of these things too. And so I'm looking at that as well. I don't know. All right, so OpenAI just became one of the highest valued privately held companies with its latest funding round. There's a lot of hype. It's got a lot to live up. Lot to live up to. I'm reading this article posted. Again, OpenAI is a private company. ChatGPT is their product, basically. Like, OpenAI's product is ChatGPT. I still use it daily. Like, I find myself, once you start to use it, you can use it very easily. It's one of the highestly valued private held companies in the world, non-public companies in the world. It's eventually going to go public, you better believe, but I think it's owned a big chunk of it's owned by Microsoft. But on Wednesday, the creator of ChatGPT said in a blog post that it raised $6.6 billion in new funding at a whopping valuation of $157 billion. He said, quote, to accelerate progress towards its mission. They did not specify its investors, but the Wall Street Journal, said the round was led by venture capital firm Thrive Capital. Current investors such as Microsoft, etc. So, yeah. OpenAI, obviously one of the biggest, strongest privately held companies in the world. We'll see what it does. I still use AI regularly, like regularly. But tell your friend to have a gummy and listen to type of music. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I feel for people, man. Like I really do. Like I feel like I kind of know who it might be. You know, you ever grown up with somebody, and I think sometimes people who yell narcissists are the narcissists, right? Like I knew a guy. There's this guy I grew up with, right? And this kid was one of the most obvious narcissistic people in the world. And again, this is coming from somebody who kind of critiques everybody else yelling narcissist. Like people call me one, but again, I'm obviously sarcastic. I talk about how I'm the greatest ever, the best ever, you know, the greatest at jujitsu ever. Like it's obviously a troll, you know? And some people, I think some people, it's hard for them to recognize sarcasm. And so some people might take that seriously and then, you know, put whatever names out there for me for it. But most of my kind of gimmick here is sarcasm, right? Like I troll people. I can't take myself too seriously because that's when you really start to feel, you know, a little bit more. And so I'd rather just kind of make it clear I'm being sarcastic. But anyways, back to the point. This guy I grew up with, obviously obviously narcissistic, right? Everything was self-centered. Every move that he made was very selfish. And eventually he went to jail, and then I think like he got clean and he turned into like this big Christian guy. But he was a Christian, and you could see it on social media. He was a Christian, and again, I'm not going to be religious and on stream or anything like that because I'm not going to get into all that. But it was like, look at how great and chosen I am. I'm God's chosen person. You know, I am the biggest prophet, and like all this crazy stuff. Right, so you could obviously see like he was narcissistic. He turned into a Christian, and then like the narcissism came out even more like with it. Like I am the chosen one. Like everybody should listen to me. Like really, it's how cults are started when you look at some of his posts on social media. And I think he talks such a big game about life that like now where you look at his life and he's kind of struggling realistically. I think that kind of hurts and drives him to, and again, I really believe you get what you put out there. I think if you act that way and you're super negative to people, you're going to get negativity back. Your life's going to suck, for lack of a better word, Jobless claims unemployment drops in 41 minutes. 41 minutes. I have the biggest profit. Top 3. Jobless claims. Jobless claims is a weekly unemployment filings report. So it might move markets, but we don't know how much. It depends on the disparity between the expected number and the actual number. Either way, it's still a relevant report. I think the market, tomorrow is the biggest report this week, right? So tomorrow's report is non-farm payrolls and unemployment. That is the biggest economic report all week, is non-farm payroll. Specifically, unemployment's important. It's expected at 4.2%, but non-farm payrolls is a gauge on the labor market, and that is why it's important. And so tomorrow's payroll numbers are going to be incredibly influential over market action, price movement in general throughout the day and for the rest of the next week, so forth and so on. And so the payroll numbers tomorrow, and we're going to stream it all live right here, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. But yeah. Yeah, no, 100% radical. I don't judge it. I know that, again, he is who he is, and unfortunately he might actually discourage people from doing whatever, because of who he is, Oh, yeah, it's supposed to say steak. I appreciate it. I missed it. Cut it steak. There we go. Appreciate it. I missed that. Gold. Where's gold at? So gold is at 2660s. Gold's been sideways since it broke lifetime highs. So it broke lifetime highs up here on the 26th, so like a week ago, and now it's basically been completely sideways ever since. YOLO might be a good play if cannabis gets federally legalized. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm skeptical. I think even if it gets decriminalized, or even if it gets descheduled, right? I don't think anybody wants it to be federally legal. Not anybody higher up in politics on either side, right? I think there's too much money and lobbyists being spent on anti-cannabis legislation. Even though, like, they use a morality argument, but, like, realistically, it's gonna hurt a lot of businesses in the pharmaceutical space if it's legalized, right? Is what it is, because it doesn't cause any type of big physical dependence, and so people can, and it also is just going to cause a lot of people not to use some of these other synthetic pharmaceuticals that they want people to use, and so that's the reason. And they spend millions of dollars in lobbyists, anti-cannabis lobbyists a year, unfortunately. And so again, the cannabis market kind of in stocks spiked up a lot. Really, it was like late 2018, 2019, 2020. You saw some cannabis stocks start to run. I can remember like CGC, Canopy Growth. It's now around, it's $5 a share. APHA was one. It's not even a stock anymore. ACB, Aurora Cannabis. They've been split numerous times. Like, they had a good chance to succeed. And again, 2018. So remember, I said 2018 for cannabis stocks. That's when they spiked. And then basically, and a lot of politicians on, whatever side said that they would be friendly towards it. And then once they got elected, they weren't. And so, again, I just don't think it's going to be legalized anytime soon. I think no matter what they say, it's still not going to be legalized anytime soon. And it's a risky investment. I've been hearing it for almost a decade now about legalization. It's just not happened yet. Lobbyists do a good job, I guess. Yeah, SNDL, I remember that stock too. Yeah, but it's not going to be federally legal anytime soon. Like, they might deschedule it, but federal legalization is a completely different thing. And so that's not going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately. I think the only way that'll happen is if it starts to trickle into every major state until it's a large majority of states have legalized it recreationally, and then they're going to say, well, what's the difference? And they just federally legalize it, right? But I think that's a long way out. I think there's a long time until that happens. John, the selling of Berkshire, can you explain why? Well, nobody's selling Berkshire. You mean Berkshire selling BOA? I'm not sure why. They just kind of unloaded some stake in it. They're now down to cutting their stake around 2.5%, a little bit under that. AMD spiking up. Look at AMD spiking up today. It's up to 161s. Tax revenue alone would bolster the economy, sure, but again, and that's been proven time and time again, but again, and it would also limit like harmfulness of it, right? And you might not understand why, but it's because it wouldn't be a gateway drug if you legalized it, right? It's a gateway drug because you get it from illegal drug dealers who eventually try to, market some other stuff to you. and thus it's a gateway drug, right? But if you legalized it, that aspect wouldn't be there, and so it actually would cancel out the gateway drug aspect of it. But again, that's a topic people don't want to talk about. Anyways, the SPY at 568. So SPY's been moving up some. I don't know if it'll continue, but the SPY lifetime highs are 575, so within $7 from lifetime highs. Rumor is Bank of America have some risky swaps. Is that really a rumor, or are you just kind of referencing 2008? All right, guys, we got 30 minutes before jobless claims. Yeah, because remember, like, one of the things that happened in 2008 is that they were selling credit default, or their investments were happening all across the country in big banks like Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, and they would get in credit default swaps. Basically, they would bet against, or they were betting on the mortgage market. And so in 2008, there was this weird thing going on where the mortgage market was failing. You know, Michael Burry famously recognized the mortgage market failing, and he recognized it by looking through paperwork after paperwork after paperwork regarding mortgages. And he saw the mortgages, he saw the credit scores, he saw the income that people were using on their mortgage applications for mortgages that were approved in some of these bundles. And he recognized that they were not good and that they would ultimately default. And he would start looking at the default rates. And he noticed that eventually a lot of these mortgages, which a lot of in turn like securities and swaps and CDOs, like collateralized debt obligations and like all this different stuff, all these basically finance instruments, ETFs, securities, were based around these mortgages. And so when mortgages would start to fail, it would have this ripple effect towards the rest of finance and the economy. You know, stock market, finance, the economy, everything would fall from it. And that's what Burry recognized. You know, and he also recognized that at the time, the ratings agencies were not being accurate with their ratings. And so they were rating things AAA, which is good, but a lot of them were like triple B or worse, which is not good, you know. And so they were rating them really high so that they could continue to get business from whoever was creating the bundles in the first place, right? But again, that type of thing caused the 2008 financial disaster, because once the mortgages started to fail, in The Big Short, they use like a Jenga board as an example. Like you take one piece off the bottom, you take another piece off the bottom. Like once they start to fail, everything crashes. And that's what happened in 2008, unfortunately. SPY's still moving up though. SPY's basically flat, completely sideways. No, it's recently. Yeah, so where's oil? Oil is still up to 71s. Yeah. Bank of America customers report outage, with some seeing zero balances in their accounts. The outage at Bank of America left some of their bank customers unable to access their accounts yesterday. Interesting. I have them in yesterday. The issue is true. Mortgage-backed securities, yeah. But again, things have changed a lot since 08, right? So 08, the problem, the main problem, like one of the problems was just greed, right? Like too many people were betting too much money on what they thought was a sure thing that wasn't. You know, there's a very famous quote from The Big Short and it says, "It's not the things we don't know that get us in trouble. It's the things we know for sure that just aren't true." Right? Or it's something like that. Let me see. Yeah. So Mark Twain, famous quote, is the quote they used. "It ain't what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so." Beautiful quote, because absolutely true, right? And so that's what happened with mortgages. Is that everybody thought mortgages were such a safe investment, and so everybody put way too much money, got really, really greedy, invested in all these securities based around mortgages, like MBS's mortgage-backed securities. And when the mortgage market failed, it had a ripple effect that affected everything, the world economy. Another good Big Short quote: "The truth is like poetry, and most people effing hate poetry," is the quote. I like that one. That one's good too. What's the average stock market return? Like 8% a year. What's the market at now? Well, the market did 24% last year. It's also up a bunch this year. But again, like, you got to understand, you can't look at average versus this year and then try to argue that the market's extended. We might be extended, but the reason that doesn't make sense is because it's an average, right? So 8%, 9% is an average, and it includes crashes. So what it means is, like, in order to compensate for the crashes, on good years, the market generally does much more than 8 or 9%, right? Because it has to compensate for the times the market crashes to get that 8, 9, 10% average. And so, yeah, like, that's what it is. Oil up a lot too. But what they've changed since 2008 was they've gotten a lot more strict regarding mortgages. In 2008, they were giving everybody freaking mortgages. Even people that shouldn't be, getting mortgages, people that can't afford them, And so that's ultimately what happened. $10% last month. Nice. Good job. All right, guys. Jobless claims in 26 minutes. Be okay buying up real estate, not selling. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the move. I really do. I think that's the move long term. A lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people, real estate and sitting on it long term is the easiest way to grow wealth. There's a lot of arguments for it, and I'll give you mine, right? Buying up real estate, number one, regardless of where you buy, prices are probably going to go up over time. And that's number one, right? Even if they only go up a small amount. That's number one. Rent is almost certain to go up over time as well, unless you get really unlucky, right? But you should be able to recognize where you shouldn't be buying stuff. So as long as you buy the right properties, rent is going to increase over time as well. So it's going to keep up with inflation to that extent. The other reason is because, if you're somebody like me, I usually, when I get money, if I keep it in my main bank account, I'm usually going to spend it. I'm not going to spend it. I've actually gotten really disciplined over time, but I used to have a big problem with it. And so what I would do is I would stick it away somewhere less liquid. And looking at that type of thing in real estate makes sense, because with real estate, you can buy it. It's probably going to go up over time. It's going to earn you cash flow while it's appreciating over time. So you're going to earn cash flow from it. Say you buy a $250,000 rental property, you should make at least $2,000 a month from it. That price is going to increase over time. The amount that you're going to be able to ask for rent is going to increase over time. And you can leverage the real estate anytime you need in any market. Good, bad times, you can always leverage the real estate. And what do I mean by leveraging the real estate? I mean, if I need money fast and I don't have money, but I own paid off real estate, I can go to the bank and say, hey, I own this asset. Give me a loan of $50K right now. And the bank's going to say, sure, just back it with your property, and you can say fine, right? And so I don't necessarily recommend that unless you're in trouble. But if you really need money fast, you can still leverage your property for it. And I think all of that stuff makes real estate a really smart investment long term. Short term, it's volatile. Prices have gone up a lot, but in a lot of areas, prices don't go down. So like the people who acquire a bunch of real estate generally do well. It's not perfect. It's definitely not passive, especially in terms of like rental properties. It's definitely not passive, but there's an argument for it for sure. Am I choppy? Does the sound choppy? Is it going in and out? You just quoted Mark Twain about sure things. Well, for sure, man. I'm not, again, number one, I'm not talking about mortgages. I can say, hey, I think these type of investments are smart. Never did I say you're absolutely going to make money without fail, right? Like there's always risks in anything. And I think that's obvious. Of course, I'm not trying to hide from those risks. I just think long-term real estate is historically, when we look at historical statistics, real estate's a pretty good bet most of the time. Now short term, now if you want the market to crash like you do, right? Like that might not be music to your ears because you want the market to crash. And so, and hearing that things go up a bunch might actually bother you because that means you're missing out on a lot of stuff, right? But I think when you zoom out long term, and when I say long term, I mean like 20, 30 years. With real estate, you're almost certain to make money long term like that. Is it passive? No. But that's why I think a lot of smart money like BLK buys it because, short term there's risks. We could certainly get corrections. But long term, it's usually pretty safe. Real estate is a good appreciating asset. However, sometimes being a landlord is not good. Right, for sure. It's certainly not passive, and it's very difficult. Right, like being a landlord is not passive at all. And to a certain extent, you could probably buy real estate investment trusts and get similar returns without half the headache that you would from it. But again, I'm not even claiming to be an expert. I could certainly be wrong here. I might be wrong. I don't freaking know. Nobody knows anything for sure. Nothing's definitive. But I think it's better to put it in something than nothing. If you want to sit on cash long term, that's fine, but you're going to be one of the biggest losers in markets because you're refusing to invest. If you don't hedge against inflation, you lose it. And I do this calculation a lot. I'll do it again. If you have 50K and you lose 3% a year to inflation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Within 10 years, you're going to lose, a huge chunk of that money. You're going to lose 28%, 29%. Almost 30% of your money in 10 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In 20 years, you're going to lose 50% of your money, and you can keep that going. And so if you don't invest in something, you can invest in the stock market, you can invest in real estate, you can invest in bonds, which are guaranteed returns. You can invest in gold if you want, like whatever floats your boat, it doesn't matter. But if you got to invest in something. I'm not telling you what to do. Definitely not an investment professional, but yeah. Hey, what's up, man? What's up, Dean? Is it highly likely we get a 5% correction before the election? I have no idea. I don't know if we crash or not. I don't know if we get a 5% correction either. It depends. It depends on a lot of different stuff. It depends on what data shows up as. Nvidia just broke highs again, back up to 121s. SPY at 568s. Yeah, and regarding the crash coming person, like, listen, I've said this before. I've had so many people show up to my stream over the past 8 years, 7 years, and say, hey, the market's going to crash. Just you watch. You'll wait. Like, you'll see. The market's going to crash, right? Like, they said this. Again, they said the same thing here, right? Like, they said the same thing here. And the market ended up doing one of the biggest bull runs. And so I'm not saying you're wrong. But I have skepticism, for sure. Why do I have skepticism? Because I see a very common trend, especially during election years. It's an election year. Number one, during election years, one of the most obvious edges is that the S&P and the NASDAQ are generally going to go up, right? Now, if you don't understand that edge and you think the market's going to crash instead, that's fine. But I think statistically on election years, the market almost always closes green on election years. That's number one. Number two is that during election years, there's a lot of marketing. There's a lot of stuff coming out about how bad everything is. Why? Because the people saying how bad it is wants their side to get elected. And so if they want their side to get elected, what do they say? They say, oh, look how terrible it is. Cough, cough, elect our side. Right? Like, that's very consistent during election years. The other side, to be fair and balanced, the other side is going to say, hey, things are great. Look how great things are. And again, I don't know if that's true either. I think it's somewhere in the middle, right? The truth is somewhere in the middle. But yeah, 5% correction is not that much. It's possible we do during election years. And even if we did, we'd still be green. Kids are good. I didn't actually start doing well until I had kids. Kids changed my life, for sure. But John, people get the definition wrong, so we're not in a big upward boom. Of course we're in a big upward boom. Right? And again, we're in a big upward boom enough for me to stop buying stuff. And so again, I'm not even saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is that nobody knows, right? Like, no offense, but you certainly don't know whether we're going to crash or not. Like, nobody does. And a lot of the time people act like they know for sure. And again, I've said this many times, but I always gauge how much experience somebody has, but by how definitive they are in their statements. If they act like something is going to happen, usually they're a little bit new. Right? They're a little bit new. Maybe they're influenced by the election. Maybe they're influenced by all these other things. If somebody takes it in terms of like probabilities, like, hey, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, that's usually somebody that's more experienced because they understand how bad it looks to say all these things are going to happen and then it doesn't. And then they're sitting here, everybody's looking at them like, hey, man. And so I would rather, if I'm saying anything, just be honest and say, I don't know, we're definitely on a big bull run in the stock market since mid 2022, I think, is when the bull run started. It started about right here. Yeah, mid 2022 is when the bull run started. But again, at the same time, that's the natural nature of stocks. Like, stocks are going to go up over time. Betting against stock market going up long term is one of the biggest sucker bets you could ever do. The Freddy Krueger effect. Dunning-Kruger's his cousin, right? Yeah, maybe's good. What we're really in right now, the reason we've been pumping up so much is because of AI, right? The AI surge is causing these run-ups, right? At a period where the Fed's actually been restrictive. So, like, generally in theory, during a restrictive Fed, you should have bearish action. This restrictive Fed season where we're doing QT, we're doing rate hikes, we're doing all this stuff where the Fed's restrictive, the market was flying up. And so that's kind of the opposite of convention, I guess. But at the same time, it's from AI. AI taking off, getting all this funding, and OpenAI, AI companies starting out and growing, and Nvidia obviously producing microchips, and microchip companies growing, Taiwan Semiconductors growing. AI has been the boom that's caused the market to run like it has in the last few years. Now, whether that's extended or not, like whether you're going to call that extended or not, it depends on a lot of stuff. I've said this 1,000 times, but in 2000, the internet was that big technology that changed the world, and we still had one of the longest bear markets following it. So it doesn't mean we're not going to crash or correct. Again, as I always say, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. It's better to have peeps. It's better to stay quiet and have people think you're an idiot than to save something and prove them right. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm not going to argue about real computer programmers. I mean, who cares, man? Do I know how to code? Sure. But the claims aren't out yet. They drop the big timer on the top left shows when they're coming out. GameStop, something is brewing. Yeah, GameStop. GM is all the way up to $45. Honestly, GM's kind of had a good bounce back over the last few years, no? Unless it's split. GameStop's been quiet. But they're quiet. We also have ISM non-manufacturing / services PMI today. That's a big report too. I guess the easiest way to put it is like, could we crash soon? Sure. Is it absolutely going to happen soon for certain? Of course not. We don't know. Nobody does. And anybody with real market experience is going to acknowledge that truth, which is that nobody freaking knows. We could certainly get around it and not crash. Or we could downtrend for years. Like, we'll see. What do you expect the unemployment data and how can it affect the NASDAQ 100? I don't know. So higher jobless claims signals more people filing for unemployment, but it's a week-to-week report. And so it's not the biggest in terms of like hype. It's a week-to-week. All the stuff that's happened over the last few weeks in terms of data. And then tomorrow we have payroll data, which is the biggest report. The services PMI data is pretty big today too. The last services PMI did have a big influence in the market. Hey, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Made money by listening to beginner trading, paying it forward. Thanks to John. Hey, thanks so much. Sooner you accept the market is going to keep going up forever, the better. We're too far gone for any recession. I mean, forever is a tough thing, right? I think eventually everything fails. But I think if that happens, we got a lot bigger problems than our stocks not paying out. I think if you look at the long history of stocks in the market, right? Index funds specifically, we can look at the SPX, the S&P 500 index fund. And you can kind of see, like, going all the way back to 1920s, the S&P 500 has gone up. It was at $4. It was at $4 really at the lows. And so, going all the way back to this time, it opened up around $20 to invest in the S&P 500. And you can kind of see, like, yes, we have down periods, right? Like, we have periods where we have red action. We have long-term down periods too. It's not like it always is short-term. Like, here's the 1929 stock market crash right here. So here's the 1929 stock market crash. We dropped from $30 down to 440s. From $30, again, $30 down to 440s. Percentage-wise, that is roughly a 87% drop, 86% drop. So a massive, massive drop. It's the biggest crash in history, of course. And again, we didn't really get back up from the 29 stock market crash. Like, it took us until 1955. So literally decades and decades to get back up to where we were. But as of 2024, that's an isolated incident. We haven't really crashed like that since. Now we've had crashes that were big. Here's one. 1973, we dropped from 120 down to 60. We dropped 50%. Big crash, big pullback, big correction for sure. But like, when you keep zooming in here, over time, again, we did this crash in 1973. By 1980, we broke that high and got back up there. And so, the people who lose the most in crashes like this are people that get emotional and sell. And the biggest losers in the market are people that are always so fearful of this that they don't ever invest. They miss out on the biggest bull runs the market gives them, like last year. Again, a lot of people are just mad they missed out on last year and this year so far. And so it's more pleasant for them to think that we're going to come back down a little bit since they missed out on the moves to begin with. And that's human nature. But when we zoom out, over time, we do go up. Again, here's 1987, Black Monday. We had this massive drop, but within a few years, we were back up breaking highs again. Here is mid-90s little correction. We can keep going here. And then here is the big one, which is 2000, which is one of the longest yearly periods where we've had massive corrections. Like we downtrended for years and years following this, from 99, 2000 down to like 05, 06. And then an interesting thing is then 2008 happened right here and dumped down. And so, but again, over time, the biggest losers here were people who got emotional and sell. And over time, the market goes up, right? And so again, that's the thing you got to understand. Short term, it's risky, you know. And when I mean short term, I mean like if you're holding investments for less than 10 years, it's risky. Over 10 years, it's generally pretty safe. Is it perfectly safe? No. But if you hold something for that long a period, you're usually okay. Hey, thank you, Jeffrey. The jobless expectations are 222,000 today. 222K. Right, 100% D. Again, everything fails eventually, right? But again, if that happens, there's a lot bigger problems. I'm thinking jobless claims will go up as oil bumped up this morning. Well, yeah, but this is from last week, and so I don't know. Oil has been up a lot. Oil's up on conflict news, right? Conflicts cause. Hey, bro. What are you doing, man? Okay. All right. I like how the chat here is so much higher quality than so many other chats. Yeah. I don't know. We do a good job of policing it. Like sometimes people are weird. So sometimes you'll have people who they'll spend so much time like in the chat and they're doing it for the purpose of like eventually marketing themselves as some type of guru, some type of expert. We do a good job of discouraging that because it's so easy to take advantage of people and like trick people into thinking like you're some type of guru expert. And so again, like if somebody has that plan here, you're just going to get banned, right? It's just unfortunately, again, and the reason this happens, the reason I'm like that is because, again, I have had people that have wanted to work for the channel. They've been moderators or wherever. And again, when they first start, they're like, hey, you know, I'm brand new to day trading. You helped me so much. Like, I just learned day trading. And I'm like, okay, cool, great. Within a couple weeks, they're like, oh, I've been day trading for 30 years and I earned 20K a week. And it's like, did you really, bro? Or are you just saying that now because you got a little hint of validation, and so now you're all of a sudden some market expert? And so people play other people really easily. Just be careful, guys. Like, don't believe everybody. You know, I think if I run a channel like this, my job is to protect the viewers in the stream. So appreciate the love. Thanks so much. Spy at 568. Yeah. Alright guys, we are going to put it in sub only mode as well. And so if you haven't already, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thanks so much, I appreciate it. They don't win the free t-shirt. What do you think of AMD long term? I think AMD long term is going to be fine. Short term, it's risky because microchips are extended. So AMD long term is probably fine. Short term, anything could happen because there's just a lot of extension in microchips over the past few years. You know, yeah. Since 2020, AMD is up hundreds and hundreds of percent, and so it's been strong, but whether it's still growing in that growth phase, I think long term it'll be fine though. But who knows? I might be wrong. Maybe it crashes. Or do you mean the economy or the market? The economy and the stock market are two different animals. I.e., you know, the best example is like 2020. Like 2020, we had QE, we had a dovish Fed, we had low interest rates, we had stimulus checks, and that ultimately saved the economy. But the stock market's a different thing. Like the last 5 years, we've had pretty big bull runs with some small correction periods because of AI, mostly. I guess the point I'm trying to make is like, look, the market could do anything short term. The market could crash, it could correct. Nobody knows. Really, nobody knows. And again, the people predicting crashes in my room have gotten it wrong a large majority of the time. I'm not talking about anybody specifically here. I'm saying the people that have predicted crashes over the last 5 years have gotten it so wrong, right? Like hopefully they haven't discouraged people from investing over the past few years, because if they did, people missed out on huge boatloads of money. But anything can happen short term. Just don't get talked into betting against blue chip healthy companies long term. Like, I'm not a big shorter. I don't think shorting blue chip healthy companies is the move. I think it's incredibly risky to short blue chip healthy companies. I think regardless of where you think the market is, the longer you hold those positions, the less likely you are to make money. The longer you hold a long position in blue chip healthy companies or index funds, the more likely you are to make money. And so play the biggest edge. A lot of people want to be Michael Burry, but they're not. You know, if you want to short something, I've said this before, there's a lot of companies that have gotten really overhyped. Not blue chips really, but mostly like mid-cap stocks, like that are relatively new, that have gone up really big percentages short term, but obviously their business isn't really about that price. It's not really correlating with that price. And so there's easier ways, like Peloton has been a good example of that over the past few years. Beyond Meat, you know, there's a bunch of companies like this, Dish on Demand. Like, there's companies that are obviously going obsolete and that are obviously not as good. John, you're never wrong. That's why we watch. I'm definitely top 3 most wrong ever in the world right now. All right, guys, we got 1 minute. 1 minute left. Higher jobless claims means more people filing for unemployment. It's generally bad. Lower jobless claims is better. It means less people filing for unemployment. It's generally good. But everybody, it could go either way. Yeah. All right, guys. 40 seconds here. 40 seconds. All right, get ready. Again, expectations are 222,000. Last time we're 218K. See what jobless data shows up as. You ain't about that price. All right, guys. We got 20 seconds. All right, this is a little bit early, guys. Yeah, Abercrombie and Fitch, probably a pretty good example. All right, 10 seconds. Here, let's go. Let's see what we get. 5 seconds. Hit the live button next to the play button. Make sure fully caught up. Let's see what we show up as. Again, 222,000. All right, there's the report. Waiting for the jobless claims numbers. They're a little bit late today. Market hasn't really moved. I'm going to put the SPY up. All right, jobless claims, 225, higher than expected jobless claims numbers. Higher than expected, 225. So higher than expected jobless claims numbers versus 222 expected. So a little bit higher. It means more people filing for unemployment, less people working. And so again, higher jobless claims, more people filing for unemployment, less people working. But again, the market hasn't really moved because this is a week-to-week report. It's a week-to-week report, so it's really easy to look at it and be like, oh no, it's the end of the world. This report's not really that, right? The big report tomorrow is that. So if unemployment shows up high, of course that's bad, right? If payroll numbers show up low, of course that's bad economic-wise. But jobless claims is a week-to-week unemployment report, and so it happens, but the influence that it has is arguable, I guess. Yeah, maybe it means inflation coming back down too. Right, and it's pretty close to the even level here as well with jobless claims. Jobless claims is how many people are filing for unemployment, chat. How many people are filing for unemployment? And again, if you haven't already, check out TopStep. TopStep is one of the most legit funded programs in the world. TopStep gives you a demo, and they test your skill with a demo account first. If you pass the test, they fund you. If you fail it, you only lose what you pay for it. And again, the reality is it's a challenge. It's a test for yourself. It's just a test. And it's $50 a month. If you were going to buy real-time data like they offer you in these funded accounts yourself, it's going to cost about $50, right? So you're getting value just in terms of the data that you get on these funded programs, right? There's value. Again, most day traders lose as well. And so every trader thinks they're going to be an outlier, but usually you're not. You're probably not going to be some prodigy savant that turns $1,000 into 30K day trading. It's more likely that you're just going to lose thousands of dollars funding your own account. And so instead of funding your own account, try TopStep. They give you a demo. They test your skill with a demo. If you pass the test with the demo, they fund you $50K to $150K, 90% split. You get to keep your first $10K, and they've paid out over $40 million to their traders. But if you fail, you only lose the monthly subscription. The base one's only $49. So your risk is $49. Once you're funded, 90% split anyway, so it's similar to putting the money up yourself. And in the futures market, you can day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, some currencies, gold. It's very similar to day trading stocks. Patterns are very similar at least. But again, there's no commissions. And so you can take these small trades and make $20, $17 and actually net profit because it's 74 cents in fees. It's the biggest edge in funded accounts because there's no fees or there's no commissions. There's only a small amount of fees. But again, they're an affiliate of mine. They're a sponsor of mine. They pay me money. You want to confirm all this stuff with them first. Not an investment professional. I do trade off stream. You're not going to see all my trades. Understand CFTC 4.41 hypothetical or simulated performance have limitations. I'm not even claiming to be a good trader, chat. Check out the link right there. I appreciate the love. Thanks so much. Anyways, NASDAQ spiked up a little bit here too. So we did have a delayed reaction. I don't know why the market's going up. I don't know if it's going up on the jobless numbers or Nvidia's pushing up and it's just dragging the S&P up with it. Yeah, we have services PMI at 10 a.m. That's the big one. We got regular services PMI at 9:45, but the big one is ISM Services at 10. That's the big one. If weekly initial claims go up by 50,000 1 week, that's a market mover. Right, but this isn't that, right? This is, yeah, so they went up 6K week to week. Last week they showed up at 219. This week they showed up at 225. So it went up 6,000. So it's definitely not 50K. But yeah, if it's a big disparity, sure. But this isn't one relative to last week, I guess. Yeah, so Spiria says, my first stop every morning for data. You have created a unique niche, and there's absolutely no BS here. Keep up the useful work. Hey, thanks so much, man. Yeah, we try, Again, people will throw whatever they want, names out there. They'll act like we don't do anything. They're just mad. Like, we cover economic reports very, very quickly. And really, we've changed the kind of game for this stuff. Like, nobody was really covering it before we did. Now everybody's trying to cover it, but a lot of them don't understand it. Remember, we were one of the first people. And so subscribe, hit the notification bell. I appreciate the love. Thanks for the support. I really do. Supermicro will drop. Yeah, Supermicro has been super volatile as well. Supermicro semiconductors up to 42s. Still pumping up, but they've had a pretty big downfall from their offering news. No. Was it an offering that dragged them down on the 26th? I can't remember. We've had so much news show up since then. I'm trying to remember. First they make fun, then they copy you 100%. Is it the Hindenburg report on the 26th, the short report? I know they did their split, but was it them that did an offering recently? Or failed to file their 10K, that's what it was. Look at the SPY turn here, chat. Look at the SPY turn. Look at Nvidia fall too. Again, we're gonna day trade a little bit now. Right, so we bought the dip. We got one contract. We're gonna take 2 contracts here. It's just such a big drop. I think we can buy into it. We'll take 3. We're back almost green here. Let's take a little piece off, lock it in, limit our size. Take a little bit more off there, add more to it, take more off, and get out there. So we just made 30, 40 bucks just now on that trade. Again, such a big drop, right? Like what I like doing here is I like buying up these big drops. Anytime we get such a big move like this, right? Like such a big move short term like this, I like buying it up. Why? Because even if we continue down, right? Even if we continue down and we go something like this, I can always take advantage of that little pop that we get, which we're kind of seeing right now. So I can always take advantage of this little pop, you know, because usually we might go down, retrace up a little bit, go down more, or we might go down, retrace up, consolidate, and then continue up, right? Either way, we're going to get at least something like this that we can capitalize on regardless of which direction it heads. And so if we're quick with it and we're smart with it, we manage it well, we can usually get a nice little trade there, which is what we did. My trades are so quickly, I usually don't set physical stops. I'll usually just do mental stops, so my hand's over the sell button. And if I need to sell, I will. Like I think stop losses in that situation are probably better in terms of longer term trades. They're better. Shorter term trades like this, you know. I mean, we could use them, but yeah. Stop losses are always better. I disagree. Yeah, I obviously have a plan, guys. Like, listen, if I'm holding something for 10 seconds, does it make sense for me to take the time to set a stop loss there only to cancel it and then get out? No, I obviously just explained my plan, right? Like people have to understand, just because you trade a specific way does not mean it's necessarily the right way or wrong way. Just because you trade without a physical stop loss when you're scalping does not mean you don't have a plan. I just explained my plan, and my plan actually worked out really well. So if you look at this, right, my plan was, after we had this big drop, my plan was to buy the dip, ride a small bounce. Even if we continue down, I could usually cut it pretty quickly and take some profit from it. And that's exactly what I did, right? Me spending the time in a 15-second trade to create a stop loss and then have to remove that stop loss to exit, it's not sensical. It makes no sense. Stop losses are good unless you're scalping, then they're unnecessary. But again, everybody's different. Figure it out yourself. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's not true, Pray and Trade. I'm pretty sure that's not true. But I don't know. Check with them. I don't know. Right. Set a stop loss if you're going to walk away, or if you're going to take a trade that might last a few minutes. Right. Or even if you're going to take a trade that lasts a minute, like set a stop loss. That's fine. But if I'm taking a 15-second trade and my hand's over the sell button, what good does it do to set a stop loss there? You're still going to get filled at the same points, whether my stop loss hits, which is a market stop, or if I click sell. It's only going to create more obstacles in terms of actually exiting the position in a short-term trade. And so if I'm sitting there with my hand over the sell button, what good is a stop loss? Honest question, genuine question. You know, if I'm sitting there with my hand like this over the sell button right here, what's the purpose of a stop loss? No need to explain it. Yeah, I feel like people kind of just regurgitate stuff that they hear from gurus that sell them courses. And I generally think stop losses are good. I'm not trying to act like stop losses are not good. I just think you have to understand the context of the trade first before you just kind of blindly criticize it in a blanket statement. I think you have to understand what I'm doing first. Market moves faster than your fingers. You're wrong with that one. Yeah, I don't know. You have to understand a stop loss is a market stop. What does that mean? What does a market stop mean? A market stop means you're going to get filled on a market order, right? A market order is going to fill you immediately at whatever price they can, but there's no limit to a good fill, bad fill. So the point is, if you get hit, you're going to get a bad fill anyway at the market stop. It's the same thing whether I click sell with a market order. It's basically the same thing, Do you create a bot that creates a stop loss and take profit that accompanies every trade? Yeah, I could, but again, I'm scalping most of the time. Like, my hand's over the sell button. Yeah, if you're manually doing it, it depends. If I take a trade and I walk away, but again, it's different. Everybody's different, guys. People are going to trade differently. It doesn't necessarily mean right or wrong. And I think that's that again. So I think new traders see something and they say, "Hey, that's not like me. They must be wrong." Right? Experienced traders see something and say, "Hey, that's not like me." But it doesn't necessarily mean they're wrong. Everybody's different. They trade different. They move different. They think differently. A lot of the times when rookies get involved with trading, they think, like, say they buy high of the day breakouts, right? If they see somebody trading a strategy that's not high of the day breakouts, they might think that they're wrong, right? I see somebody trading high of the day breakouts, I think they're wrong. But I also understand some people are going to make it work where I can't, And so I think that's the lens people have to look at it with is, hey, everybody's different. They trade differently. They manage trades differently. Doesn't necessarily mean they're right. And maybe I am wrong. I don't know, But yeah, everybody's different. Yeah, the bot's cool, but I'm pretty sure you could set bracket orders up with it anyway if I really wanted to. Yeah, I saw the Blackwell news regarding the chips. I did see that news. Yeah, so I saw the news. So basically, OpenAI raised $6.6 billion in the latest funding round. Nvidia's Blackwell GPU sets new AI benchmark with over 100 system configurations, according to analysts. So JP Morgan analyst Harlan has asserted that the company is on track for a spectacular fiscal fourth quarter. Regarding Nvidia, he said, quote, the team characterized the early product yield issues as the behind the team post a mask fix on the B200 GPU chip. So yeah, there's that news, and we're seeing it. We're kind of bouncing right at the volume weighted average price on the SPY. We'll see how that goes. Still got a little bit of time. See all the big traders that sold off slugs of Nvidia prior to the runs. These guys have all the algos, machines, and best traders. Short term, they were wrong. Yeah, it really is something in which I try to, like, something I try to tell people. Like, people come here and they're like, oh, the market's going to crash. The market's going to crash. Or, oh, you know, this is going to happen. Or this is going to happen. Or X is going to happen. Or whatever. And they're so definitive about their statements. They're pressuring people to do things. They're pressuring people to buy. They're pressuring people to sell. And again, I think you got to understand, like, I've watched the market every day for years and years. Every day for years, I've watched the market. I see when people are wrong. And I see when people are right. Generally speaking, the people that are very definitive in their statements, the people that say this is going to happen or this is going to happen, are some of the most wrong people, you know. Because again, somebody saying it like that shows emotion and bias, right? Like if I load up on shorts, I want the market to crash. That might make me emotional about it. That might make me tell everybody, hey, this is gonna happen, right? This is gonna happen, and vice versa. You know, if I buy up a bunch of long positions, a bunch of call options, you know, I might tell people, hey, the market's going to go up short term. In the end, nobody freaking knows. Nobody knows how stocks are going to react to earnings reports, economic data. Nobody knows what the economic data is going to be, except for me sometimes with CPI, I guess. But you got to take everything with that understanding. Like, nobody knows. Nothing's definitive. Probabilities is what moves the market. Like, we look at probabilities. And sometimes things are more probable or less probable. But again, the people acting like something's definitely going to happen or something's definitely like, you know how many people said that we were going to crash a year ago? Imminently crash, you know. Usually they end up creating new names, like new usernames, because they know they were wrong. Instead of being like, I respect somebody for being like, yo, I was wrong. You know, that's something I can respect, because most people don't, and most people just end up creating new usernames and fake accounts and acting like they're a completely new person. But it is what it is, I guess. It's human nature to not want to be wrong. But it's always imminently. Yeah, like universally in markets, somebody's always telling you the market's going to crash, right? Even on the biggest bull runs throughout history, the biggest bear moves, somebody's always yelling crash. Port strikes are certainly what's affecting the market the last few days. If you look at the SPY, I'm surprised that, you know, we had this big dip. Port strikes going on, if you don't know what that is. So the port strikes, let me break this down. Yeah, so the port strikes have been going on. I think it's almost 45,000 port workers. So the ongoing strikes began October 1st. They have caused disruptions at 36 major ports in the U.S., particularly along the East and Gulf Coast. The ILA workers are striking due to unresolved contract negotiations over wages, and automation concerns is expected to impact all these big things, suggesting it could cost the economy almost $4 billion or more. So yeah, that's what's going on right now. And I think there's some pessimism regarding this. Everybody's scared of it, scared of the impacts of it long term. And again, we'll see. All right, we'll see. Part of me wants to buy this again. I'll try buying up futures right now. We'll see if I can get something in. Buy this little dip. 2 contracts here. We made about 30 already today. We do have ISM Services PMI coming out later. So I'm hoping we get some legs here and we bounce back up, but who freaking knows? Retracement back up. In pre-market, I've been trying to take longer term trades. All right, I'm muted here, guys. Nobody can hear me, apparently. Thanks to Ed for the donation. He said, listen to this guy. No one is always right. Don't be bullied. The goal is to be right 51% of the time. The rest are pretenders, and don't use caps in the chat. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I mean, Ty, I think it could be either one, to be completely honest. You know? So, yeah, we're going to cut this pretty soon, I think. But I think, like, my system revolves around high accuracy, bad risk reward, you know? And so it's not always about having some crazy good risk reward level and you know, like, that's not always what it's about. And I think that's a big misconception. Like, people always think you can have a super good risk reward level as well as like a super good accuracy rate. You're not going to be able to have both, you know, no matter what. You're not going to be able to have both. That's life in stocks. Yeah, I'm going to have to cut this, I think. Even though we're at the bottom of the range, part of me wants to let it work, and I guess we'll give it a second since we bounce back up. We break underneath this low, I'm going to have to cut it. But I think, like, you can have a very good risk reward level and a low accuracy rate, and you can have a very bad risk reward level and a high accuracy rate and still make money on both sides, right? Neither of those things are necessarily wrong. And again, it has to do with the trader's personality. Yeah, we're gonna have to cut it, so we just got out. Oh no, we ended up, okay, there we go. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even claiming to be some super good, like, you know. My better trades are based on long-term investing, swing trades, you know. Like, my favorite plays, really, like, my favorite strategy in the market is, there's two. The first one is waiting for a big economic report to come out and then attacking the range that we get the day preceding it. One of my favorites. The other big one is, like, waiting for earnings season to happen every quarter, looking for stocks that have these massive dumps, these massive drops, buying up those dips on blue chip healthy companies and riding them back up. Some of the time they turn into investments as well, but that's the way I accumulate shares of healthy companies, is I look for big earnings overreaction and then I accumulate during those periods. That's my favorite way to trade. SPY gap fill on the daily. I mean, I'm not really a daily gap fill trader, to be honest. What gap are you talking about? SPY's right around lifetime highs. That's number one. Right, so you want to take that context into it. SPY's close to lifetime highs. It does look like we have this big, like, it does look like the SPY. I would say on a daily chart, what looks, if I had to pick a direction technicals wise, like, you have this big support level here, tapped multiple times at around 565. We broke over this high and now we're pulling back to it. And so there's a couple ways you could go with this. The first way is you could say, okay, this might act as support and we might bounce back up and retest highs. That depends on what the economic data shows, to be honest. I think is whether we can get that high up there. The other way you could look at this is you could look at this as a trend, right? And so if you look at this as a trend, in that theory, you could go down, up, back down, and then consolidate and move back up or do whatever afterwards. But it just depends, right? Like, there's a lot of ways you could look at. You could look at short-term trends. Here's definitely a trend line. And so if this is a trend line and this is a trend line, you know, you could say, hey, this is a flag pattern, this is a triangle pattern. You know, we might do something like this and then break to the upside. We might do something like that and then break to the downside. Like, it's all theories now. Nobody knows which way it's going to go, really. And I would argue it depends on the economic reports that are coming out tomorrow. Specifically, payroll numbers is big. Yeah, we're about flat on the day trading. We had already made 30 something prior to that, I think. Technicals long-term, no. It depends. Long-term to me is like 5-10 years plus. So, yeah. I mean, I don't really play technicals super long-term. Because super long-term, I'm just buying good fundamentals, right? Technical significant long-term. And that's something that people have to understand too. And when I say long term, I'm talking about like a decade plus, 5-10 years at least, because a lot of people get that wrong. Technicals can work, but some people take them a little bit too seriously because they start acting like everything is technically related. And it's not. Like when you get into longer term, you're just going to have so much strength. Inflation is going to cause prices to rise over time. Like there's a lot of reasons the market goes up over time, and it doesn't really have anything to do with technicals, except for maybe extension occasionally. But yeah, tomorrow's data is the biggest report this week, and so we'll see what happens there. Yeah, we got ISM PMI data coming out today, guys. Big report, big day. We'll see we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I hope Mike wins, but he's not going to. If they go through with this fight, which I think is probably, there's a chance they don't. But if they go through with this fight, I don't think Mike wins, unfortunately. I wish he did, and I want him to. But there's a reason you don't see 60-year-olds box. The easiest way to put it is if you watched the Roy Jones versus Tyson fight a few years ago, look, I love both of them. I grew up with Roy Jones Jr. fights, but there's a reason 60-year-old men don't fight anymore. And so it doesn't matter the skill level that they want, and it doesn't matter Mike's skill level in his prime. It doesn't matter. And I think people have so much confirmation bias wrapped up into Mike. They desperately want to believe he still got it. Maybe some of them are old, and they want to believe that the older fighter could still have it and still do it, and they obviously dislike Jake Paul, which is what he wants. He wants you to hate him, right? He wants you to hate him so you tune in to watch him get knocked out, but I'm here to say he ain't getting knocked out here. Again, remember me saying this. I've been saying this for like a year now. Absolutely true. I hope I'm wrong. I promise I hope I'm wrong. Like, I genuinely, if Tyson ends up pulling off a miracle, I will dance in the streets and celebrate. Okay? It's just not going to happen, unfortunately. People bring up Mike Tyson's like video clips, his 30-second video clips of him hitting the bag really hard and doing it, and that's great. But again, the reason it's only 30 seconds because you better believe he's struggling after that 30 seconds. And I believe Jake Paul can last 30 seconds with a 60-year-old fighter. So. Yeah, everybody starts becoming Rain Man and analyzing butterfly effects. Absolutely, bro. You see these people with technicals, dude. And again, a lot of them refuse to look at fundamentals and economic reports, right? Like, you better believe they're going to try to act like a 5% drop from CPI is somehow due to some wizardry in technicals, like the 7 EMA crossing over the 12 SMA, with all this other stuff happening at the same time, and it's, and they're going to act like it's technicals when it's not. It's fundamentals, it's economic reports, it's job reports and stuff that cause big swings. Generally with technicals, you see trends. You don't see big, like, okay. Generally with economic reports, you see these big flushes, these big moves up, these big moves down, these big crazy high volume candles, right? With technicals, it's trends. Like, you might see a downward trending move or an upward trending move. With catalyst driven things, it's bigger, right? The moves are larger. And so if you see a big move happen, like a big candlestick with a big volume spike, it is almost never technicals. It's almost never technicals. I'm not saying it's never been. There's always outliers, I guess. But at least in terms of like what's usual, it's almost never technicals when you get a big move. It's almost always fundamentals. I genuinely hope I'm wrong. I promise I do. But again, here's an example. Like, I was talking to my jiu-jitsu friends about Merab Dvalishvili and Sean O'Malley, right? And I would ask them before the fight, I'd say, hey, who do you think wins this fight? And a lot of them would be like, O'Malley's got it, O'Malley's got it, O'Malley's got it, O'Malley's got it. And again, I told every one of them. I was certainly in the minority there, where I would tell them, I'd be like, yo, Merab's going to wrestle him for 5 rounds. You know, Merab's gonna just take him down over and over again. He's gonna do whatever he wants to him, and they would be like, nah. And again, that's exactly what happened. And again, I told him that too. I hope I'm wrong. I hope O'Malley KOs Merab. It's just not very probable, I think, when you look at it. And you know, I was right. Again, I think the same thing here. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Tyson still got it. I hope he's juiced to the gills and they don't test him personally. And that might be true, but it doesn't matter. You know what? Because Jake's obviously juiced to the gills. If you look at Jake, you know, he's got all the signs of being juiced, right? So a juiced up 30-year-old, I don't know, man. I don't think it'll be a miracle if it happens. The Sahm Rule, well, he didn't herself say that she didn't think that it was valid here. Yeah, I think, again, Matt, I think it's just marketing, brother. You know. Can you record yourself dancing in the street if Mike Tyson TKOs Jake Paul? Yes, I will. It'll never happen, but I will. You know. SPY down to 567, so SPY under the 100 EMA. The Sahm Rule. The Sahm Rule is a the Sahm Rule is a rule that states, I think it's if unemployment spikes by 0.5% relative to the beginning of the year, it triggers a recession signal. I believe is what the Sahm Rule is. I might be wrong there. Let me see. Explain the Sahm Rule and how you calculate it. Sahm Rule, developed by economist Claudia Sahm, is a simple and timely indicator to help identify the start of a recession. The rule flags a recession when the 3-month moving average of the national unemployment rate rises by 0.5 percentage points or more above its low of the previous 12 months. Right? So basically, if unemployment, if the 3-month unemployment average spikes over 0.5%, over 0.5%, basically 50 basis points or more above its low over the past 12 years, right? So find the lowest monthly unemployment rate during the last year, right? Let's take a look. I want to see the full employment. Here it is. All right. So unemployment rate, let's look at 1 year. Okay, find the lowest low here in the last 12 months, which in this case would be, hold on, let me see. Yeah. All right, which in this case would be here at 3.7%. 3.7%. So where would the Sahm Rule trigger? 3.7, 0.5% would be where? It would be 4.2 right here is where it would trigger. From 3.7, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 4, 4.1, 4.2. That's where the Sahm Rule would trigger right here. And so, yeah, that's it right there. That's the Sahm Rule. My mic keeps going out. I'm sorry. I hope that makes sense. So again, to calculate this, 3.7%, 0.5% uptick to trigger the Sahm Rule would be up here at 4.2. 3.7 plus 0.5 is 4.2. We got up to 4.3, it looks like, in July. So, but I think Sahm herself said that it's not valid. Yes, she noted that the recent trigger of the Sahm Rule might not be valid due to unusual labor market conditions. While the rule was triggered by a recent rise in unemployment, she explained that this increase was largely due to a surge in labor force participation, particularly from newer returning workers, rather than a decline in demand for labor. This makes the current signal less indicative of a recession, even though historically has been accurate. So yeah, basically what she's saying is that generally unemployment spiking up like that would be there to trigger weakness in the economy, because it would mean ultimately that less demand for labor, right? So less demand for labor. Instead, she said that this was due to a surge in labor force participation for new and returning workers, probably from like 2020, 2020, 2021, 2022. People, and so the conditions are different. Now, again, I'm not saying she's right. I'm not saying she's wrong. But the creator of the rule herself doesn't think that this recent move is indicative of it. Yes, I'm looking up to see. All right, so it's been wrong before, specifically 1976. So it hasn't been right every time, but it's been pretty accurate. I'm still looking up more data on this. Yeah. Yeah, essentially what she's saying is labor market anomalies increased labor force participation, but it didn't indicate a drop in labor demand. Like, generally what the Sahm Rule is trying to show is weakness in the labor market in terms of demand. Right here, this is just different, I think. Yeah, so we got services PMI data coming out. So we did get some good jobless claims reports. Yeah, tomorrow we have payroll data, guys, so it's definitely something you want to watch. Services PMI. port strikes are definitely causing some stuff. Did we do a poll? Oh, we didn't do a poll today, guys. I'm sorry. I appreciate all the love, guys. Shout out to Jeffrey for the donation. Amar, Ed. Hey, I appreciate the love. Thanks so much. You know, I thought it used to let me give memberships to viewers, but I guess it doesn't let me do it yet. Yeah, so let's do a poll with ISM Services data. Dropping around 10 a.m. Does the market close red or green? Tesla coming all the way back down to 455 or 245. It hit 260s yesterday. What do you think about U.S. debt increases? I don't know, man. I definitely don't think it's good. But I think, you know, people always talk about inflation. One of the ways inflation is not as bad as it could be, and I think this is what, like, when you see debt rise, something that you have to take into account is inflation and how that impacts it. And so, like, let's say you got $1 trillion in debt. There's a billion. 1, 2, 3. There's $1 trillion. Right? So let's say you got $1 trillion in debt. Okay. Well, like, say you lose 4% to inflation over time. Right? Right? Let's do like 40 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. So that's going to only turn into about 200 billion, right? And over a long term, inflation's going to chip away at the impact of the debt if we can start to slow it, right? Obviously, if we can't slow it and we keep adding to it at this pace, there's problems. But if we can slow the pace of the debt, you know, it's not the end of the world scenario that a lot of people are acting like, specifically from inflation. You know, inflation does make it a little bit better. Oh, I meant to say with. I'm going to fix this poll. I spelled it wrong. I meant to say with. Yeah, I meant to say with. My bad, guys. I'm going to end this poll and redo it. Red, green. All right, vote on the new poll. So vote on the new poll. Hold nothing overnight except shares. That's probably makes sense. I mean, again, like, it really depends. There's some stuff that you can buy, like bonds are good. Like bonds might work, but it depends. Yeah, I don't know about all that stuff, Omer. I really don't know, bro. It's possible, but I don't know. Again, I'm not gonna scare people and say yes or no, because things change. You know? Yeah, people get mad about my keyboard. I got another keyboard. I mean, I can always try to plug it in. Let me see. If people are this mad about it, let me see. How loud is this one? This is actually much better. I'm just going to use this keyboard, guys. All right. Let me get this one out the way. I got a new keyboard for all the complainers. Let's see if it's loud. I think this one's actually much more quiet. We're going to try it out. Let me know if you think it's too loud or not. But we got a new keyboard here. You're welcome, guys. For all the people complaining about my keyboard, we got another one right here. Let's try it. That's much better, huh? It's quiet. It's a better keyboard anyway. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. The loud keyboard is gone. You're welcome, guys. Listen, just for you. Market's turning around here. Yeah, like, look, I can type fast. Yeah, say it's much better. It's silent. I had one at home. I should have just used it this whole time. Unemployment higher. Yeah, we'll see. All right, so remember, 9:45 we got regular services PMI data, and then we got where's my coffee? There it is. John is AI generated? Yeah, the mic. ASMR keyboard. Top 3 crowd pleasers in the world. I know, listen, man, you're welcome, guys. You know, and I gotta say it, you know, I wonder how many people here, okay, all good. I wonder how many people here, like, I genuinely wonder how many users here create fake accounts and troll and say all this different, like they say they create fake accounts, they talk smack, they log into another account, they praise, you know. I've had people do that, and I genuinely wonder, what motivates somebody to behave that way? Like, is it the anonymity of the internet, or the perceived anonymity of the internet? Or, like, what drives you to be, you know, off in the head, I guess, like that, is a real question. Because, again, I've watched chats for so long, and this is something that I see not just in my chat. I see it in a lot of other chats, and I gotta just wonder, what drives somebody to behave that way? Like, I have watched YouTubers before, never even thought about behaving in that way. Entering a long trade. I don't even know what that is. What's XAG? Low IQ, boredom. Yeah, I mean, that's probably what it is. Too much free time, 100%. They want attention. They have no friends. Social cues. Yeah. Like, I would always assume that maybe I did something to bother them. Like, I've had people that have, like, been friends of the channel that have kind of done something to rub me the wrong way, so I distance myself from them, and then they go, like, scorned earth on me, and they blame me for all their failures and all their, like, even though they had a pretty small role here. But, like, I've had that happen, and so I assume that maybe those type of people are just so insecure about stuff that, like, they're driven to behave that way. But I wonder if it's not somebody like that. Why? Like, what's the purpose of it, you know? Again, the only way I can think is, like, maybe you know me in real life and, like, you're big mad I'm on the internet now. That's fine, you know? But, it doesn't even really bother me too much. I think it's an interesting topic to, like, talk about because I think the psychology behind it is interesting. Like, what drives somebody to do that in their life, you know? They're either being spiteful or just bored. Yeah, that's true, I guess. Silver? Yeah, I've never traded silver. Is silver easy to trade? What is it? SLV? What's the symbol? The future symbol for silver. I want to say it's SLV. I want to say it's SV. No, what is it? I always get it wrong. I can never remember it. Is it SC? As someone who was the person you're describing, it came from a place of insecurity. Well, it has to come from a place of insecurity, right? Like, misery loves company. So somebody that's miserable or insecure, they want to drag other people down. Like, I know that is definitely an aspect of a lot of it, right? But again, I'm telling you, the simulation theory really affects how, you know, like, how you look at things. Simulation theory basically says if it's possible for us to create a lifelike simulation that looks and feels exactly what we're experiencing right now, if it's possible for us to eventually create that in the future, it's more statistically probable that we're actually already in it. You know, watch a documentary called A Glitch in the Matrix, right? It'll mess with your head. It messed with Carol's head. I showed it to Carol. Once you watch that, though, you got to question whether there's like a karma system where if you're good to other people, you get good back. If you're bad to other people, you get badness back, right? I think that type of thing messes with your head. But it's good. It's interesting. Watch A Glitch in the Matrix. Hey, I can respect the fact that you're being honest about it, AM. You know, I can respect the honesty. They think if you are top 3 worst trader, easy target. Maybe. I mean, I think if everybody at home's being honest, it comes from at least a little bit of a place of insecurity, right, to behave in that way. Definitely at least a little bit. That might be hard for people to admit, but it's definitely at least a little bit of that, you know. And it's okay. Again, I like the topic. It's a fun topic to talk about. It probably helps the stream. If not, you guys will see me. I'm over here typing away, doing stuff in the background. And so I think it's probably a little bit helpful for the stream, believe it or not. I'm kind of hesitant to say that because I don't want that to encourage people to do it more, but still. Yeah, I'm looking at AMD. Does anybody know why AMD spiked up this morning? Every village, yeah. Yeah. People always try to talk to me about politics, and I just ignore it. If you're asking me about politics, guys, and I see people doing this all day, I'm just gonna ignore it. I really am. I'm not gonna answer the politics questions or anything like that because look, I'm actually very neutral. I avoid the whole realm of it, you know, for a reason, including especially on this live stream, but in real life as well, you know. Right, if people spent that energy like trying to focus on building their own selves up, I think they'd be in a much better spot. I think when people try to grow on social media, their pride gets in the way though, right? Like I think when you first are growing on social media, it hurts your pride because you're not getting nobody's watching you. Nobody's paying attention to you. It hurts, right? It hurts to do. See my mic. I'm gonna hold on. All right, so that should be better. I'm using a different mic cord. I have two of them, but one of them cuts out like that. I also have multiple mics. I could probably just plug in my other mic. AMD good revenue news. Is that really what it's up? I saw it up this morning. It kind of gave some back. Maybe it was a different one that I was talking about besides AMD. Yeah. All right, guys, we got 2 minutes. Bitcoin bounced back a little bit. It's almost to 61K, but it's still got a ways to go, I think. We got ISM PMI data dropping in about 15 minutes. Yeah, I think port strikes are certainly making things a little bit fearful in markets. I think the markets have gone down. They bounced back a lot yesterday. So Nvidia's leading the market like usual, and yesterday and today it's up a lot. It was back down to under 115s for some periods yesterday. And it did cause a lot of red action at the open, and you can kind of see the SPY in a similar pattern. We got 1 minute left, but the SPY's actually kind of red this morning versus Nvidia, which is actually green here. So maybe that correlation's not set in stone like it's been for the last few months or year, really. All right, guys, here we go. We got less than a minute, or we got about a minute left. Again, ISM PMI data, 10 a.m. Where's my clock? I don't know. I mean, we'll put the clock up. I don't know how... We'll put the clock up for... The first one drops in about 14 and a half minutes or so. But that's not the big one. But we'll put the timer up for that one. Yeah, we're going to get ready to trade at the opening bell here. We'll get ready. All right. There's the bell. We're going to let things slow first. Slow down a little bit. AMD at 160s. Yeah, so the SPY is down, but Nvidia has been up this morning, so you wonder if the SPY is going to catch up to it at the open. Nvidia is falling back down, though, leading closer to it. Very choppy range. I do think we could have chop, but I've thought that every day. We have payroll numbers tomorrow, though. So I do think we could have choppiness. But I'm going to let the first 5 minutes play out first here. Look at that big retracement back up here. What a candle. Again, I'm gonna let the opening bell play out. We're 2 minutes in first. I'm gonna wait until like 5 at least, probably. Although we have gotten a little bit of chop for the first few minutes after the open. I love this channel. Best traders of all time. Definitely top 3. Okay, there's a big green action going through in the NASDAQ here. The SPY is actually underreacting versus the NASDAQ, which means like tech is leading the way, but the rest of the stocks are not. Yeah, like JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Bank of America probably all reacting to a certain extent from the Berkshire cut and stake. All right, so we're 3 minutes into the opening, and I got to wait a couple minutes, let the opening bell really play out first. Look at this big upward price. We're going to get ready to try to short in about a minute or two, especially if we push up too much. All right, we're going to take one contract. It's a little earlier than I wanted to take a trade, but we're going to take one contract here, just one. We're betting on rangy momentum here. See if we have a larger pullback. So I look down for a second and I look up, and now we're just pumping up. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. We got out, small trade. You know, we lost 26 bucks. I'll probably let the rest play out. See, we're at 122s. So we got 2 contracts here. Look for that turnaround here if we can get it. There we go. All right, just got a little bit more, made a little bit back. 122 resistance is what's rejecting Nvidia. We're gonna see if it drags the NASDAQ back. The SPY. mic do it again, man? Wow, dude. I gotta get another mic. The problem with these mics is that they're so freaking sensitive. Like, they wear out so quickly. I gotta buy a new mic. I almost think they do it on purpose, bro. Frustrating. Like, the port that plugs in the cord wears out so quickly. Nvidia all the way at a pretty big bottom. Yeah, this keyboard's much quieter. No, it's not my PC port that's the problem. It's the cord that goes from my PC USB into the microphone. And it's not the cord's fault. The cord's not the problem. The problem is on these this is a Yeti microphone, The problem is that where you plug the cord in wears out so quickly. On the mic, right? So you got to replace the whole mic basically, and it's fine. Alright, SPY is down there. Part of me wants to buy this though because Nvidia looks to be running up a little bit. I'll buy it down here. 2 contracts. There we go. I'm going back and forth. We took a little bit of profit already. 2 contracts again. Retracing all the way back up. There we go. Alright, so we got pretty good accuracy. We had one relatively large loss since the opening bell, but we made $1, $7, $14, $28, we'll call it $33, $45 roughly since the opening bell. So we're green since the open, but all right, we got ISM data coming out in 5 minutes, chat. Or not ISM, I'm sorry. We've got regular services, not ISM, but regular services PMI in 5 minutes. Alright, so we did get that big pop. I should have held it, but it's alright. We got that big bounce that we wanted. And there's Nvidia shooting up, breaking highs. It's at 122. Look at AMD ripping up, breaking highs as well in sympathy. Hey, what's the tropical storm that's currently in the Gulf called? Does it have a name? It's currently around Guatemala. Look at this move. This big pop. All right, we're going to start shorting the top of this range. 2 contracts. It's definitely a risky move here. But, we try to build up some profit and then trade based off of that profit. But, man, we just keep getting beat up a little bit on this one. We're kind of flat on the day. We're green, but maybe not after this. Took half of it off just to protect it, but right back down. I'm gonna go ahead and get out here. Could be worse. About flat on the day still. I'm gonna have to size up eventually today. I'm just trying to let like some type of common trend play out. We were correct about this, but still. Okay, so it looks like this storm is called TD1. All right, so we're gonna start to size up. We're gonna take 3 contracts on this pop, and we're gonna look for a larger breakdown and choppiness. Definitely risk, but again, I think it's probably time to size up. I think we're up enough to where we could get some good action, and if we don't, we'll probably just kind of sit out for the rest of the day. You know, I think it's the day before payroll numbers, and so I think the point here is like attack the top of the range, see if we come back down. And if we lose 50, 60, 70 bucks, it's okay. You just gotta kind of be smart and wait. See, the problem though is AMD is just running here, man. All right, so we're back down to about flat here. Big retracement. Big bump. There we go. Took a little bit off there, locked it in. Oh wait, what kind of size did we use? We got too big of size. Or too small of size. We took too much off there. I'll let the rest work. I want to let this longer term work. The problem is Nvidia is breaking highs again. I don't like that. We'll see if this can sustain it. See, the tropical storm in the Gulf, they say it's going to hit Florida, but who knows? All right, if we get enough in here, we're going to add to this. We got 2 contracts now. We're going to try to let this work a little bit longer. 2 contracts. We can hold the rest break even if we want. Nvidia keeps breaking highs. That's not good for this position for sure. But we're trading small. Again, it's the day before payrolls, and so I'm assuming we get choppy action. And so I don't mind losing a bit here, taking a longer term trade is what I'm trying to do. Scalping hasn't been easy the last few days for me, so I'm trying to slow it down. If we lose 100 bucks today, we'll just kind of bow out and wait until another day and maybe attack this type of stuff tomorrow. Is my mic out again? They're already striking at the ports. Yeah. Oh, the PMI data came out. My bad, guys. Here, PMI data showed up at 54 for global comp. Services came in at 55.2. So it showed up at slightly lower than expected, but basically flat here. I'll put this up on screen. The big one drops at 10. This is not really the big one. This is actually a pretty small one. The big one drops at 10. There we go. We just locked in that profit there. That's nice. Still got one contract left, riding that thing up. I don't know what we want to do on the rest. We'll go ahead and take that out. So not too shabby there. Get a good, nice little mix of trades here. If you want to see like my string of trades today, you know, like that's it basically. We did okay. We've had a couple losses, but we've been more accurate. We were correct about our thesis so far, at least too. I don't know how much it's going to break down, but if it retraces back up there, we'll kind of bet on the same thesis right here. Same concept. But we're trying to scale down our size. The last few days have been tough. Yeah, there's the report. Again, the big one drops in a couple minutes. We'll add to this too. I don't know if the whole market's waiting for ISM data to come out or what, but I'm gonna have to cut it if it gets over here, over these levels. I don't want to get stuck in like runs. Nvidia is what's running right now. It's looking a little bit better, but back to kind of flat here. I really do want to let it run a little bit. SPY's testing lows. AMD pulling back a little bit too. Bank of America is down significantly as well. Russell's coming down. Yeah. Again, with tomorrow's payroll report, like what I'm betting on is like we're up a lot this morning to start the day. What I'm betting on is red action to come back down to earth a little bit after the big run up today, and essentially like a choppy trend, but it's taking too long. All right, so we locked in a little bit. We'll let the rest work, see if we get a better move. We still have 10 minutes left until this report drops. Maybe add back to it too. The market seems a little apprehensive, but I don't think it's easy to take advantage of like it kind of is sometimes. Like sometimes the chop is easier to see. We're kind of flat the last bundle of trades here. Could be worse though, I guess. But I don't know if this chop is necessarily easy to see. Yeah, we covered that news, Frost, about Bank of America. Every day it's the same thing, bro. Literally every day. Hello. All right, we're back. Yeah, no, all good, Frost. It's all good. Yeah, but we covered it. So they sold about They've sold about 10.2% of their stake in Bank of America recently. Yeah, it's like a little mini flag pattern, but I also think it's a day ahead of payrolls, and so I think it's possible we get choppiness. We're kind of flat on the rest. We've taken profit over the last couple trades here. I'm trying to let it play out, but I will cut it before services PMI drops at 10. Right now, the market's basically not moving. I don't know if services PMI is just going to have that big of an impact or what, but the market's basically not moving right now. Look at the Nvidia chart over the last 4 or 5 minutes. It's been essentially sideways, just not doing anything. Like, look, I can literally draw a straight line through it. That's boring. That's choppy. I'm just hoping it doesn't go back up to the top of the range. Instead, I'm just looking for it to flush a little bit. I have to change my notification settings on some of these. Yeah, I think that's my time to just cut it. So we're out. We're basically flat today, all today. I was worried it would range back up and really be choppy. Like, if it's really choppy, then the chop I was looking for was this, right? It got so choppy, though, it did this, right? That's kind of what we got stuck in, this chop. We wanted this chop, but that's larger range chop, and I guess we just didn't have it. No, I didn't tell her off. She's just being nice. Like, look, I love my wife. She's just being nice, man. She's just telling me what's going on. She's hanging out. Yeah. So, she's good. All right, 5 minutes left, chat. We got 5 minutes. Expectations, guys, just to clarify, are for ISM non-manufacturing services PMI data, expectations are 51.7. So you got to understand, like, with this, the greater level over 50, the more expansion in manufacturing there is, right? Like, that's what this means. Or the more expansion in services there are. The more under 50, the more contraction in services. And services includes a lot of different stuff. Like, we could go deeper into the services sector if you guys want, but business activity, orders, employment, supplier deliveries. Like I said, there's a lot of services data that's relevant. Market's pumping up too a little bit. NASDAQ over 20K now as well, so that's good. Yeah, some would say top 3 wives in the world right now. Definitely, she's Carol. Definitely one of my top 3 wives ever in the world. You know, greenest week I've had in a while. It's definitely a red week for me. Honestly, it hasn't been easy. We got 3 minutes left. 3 minutes. Joking, guys. Obviously joking. Super Micro, what's it doing? Super Micro pumping up. It's at a pre-split price of about $436. Secret is never let her know. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm just telling you guys in secret. Come on now, guys. My internet friends over here. Like, of course I'm joking. It's sarcasm. She knows. She's heard me tell the joke before. I've told the joke when she was around. All right, guys. Hey, we got 3 minutes left. Really, we have about 2 minutes, 10 seconds left. I would short here, but number one, that hasn't worked that well lately. Number two is we got economic report coming out in 2 minutes, so probably not the best time to short, I would say. Yeah, just between the 650 people here, my internet friends. All right. All right, here we go, guys. 1.5 minutes left. Expectations are just under 52 at 51.7. We'll see if it hits that. All right, we're at 165 for AMD. Here we go. Less than a minute, guys. Less than a minute. We got about 700 people here. Y'all hit the subscribe button. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Let's keep growing this channel. We're pumping towards 150K. We're going to hit it before the end of the year for sure. And then, yeah. All right, guys, 20 seconds, 20 seconds. Again, ISM PMI expected at 51.7, 51.7. We'll see if it hits. And here's the report right here. 54.9, higher than expected, 54.9. We cover it before everybody else, 54.9. Services PMI versus 51.7. Prices came in higher than expected as well. Factory orders came out a little bit lower than expected. Durable goods, but yeah, everything came in higher than expected for ISM services data. PMI data came in better than expected. Manufacturing prices came in higher than expected. So ISM services showed up again almost at 55 versus 51.7 expected. 51.7. So pretty good. Pretty good. Again, 54.9, basically 55 versus 51.7 for ISM non-manufacturing data. Factory prices came in at 59.4. 59.4. So better than expected in that regard. Not too bad. Again, ISM PMI data 59.4 versus 51.7. We'll put this up on screen. Everything else was higher too. Market so far has liked it and gone up on this. So far the market has liked it. Look at the SPY rip. Yeah, not bad. Could be worse, right? All right, AMD, pump it up. It's at 156. Almost 156. This data was relatively good, right? September's over as well, but September was actually a green month. Usually there's something called the September slump. September's actually kind of green. Like, look at the Nvidia chart push. So that's dragging everything else up with it. We'll see if we get some better action here. Nvidia pumping. Look at the SPY test the previous closing price. It's right at the previous closing price, like right there. So far, the market's been pretty green. I mean, you know, again, I don't know if it's going to continue to be green. Watch Nvidia, man. Nvidia's all the way up to 124s, testing highs again. So we ended up making a little bit of money here. Let me see where we're at. Yeah, so we're up. Could be worse today. I don't know if I'm lagging a little bit. I probably should exit out some of these AccuWeather things. Checking the weather everywhere. Gold trying to come down. Yeah, I'm trying to exit out of some stuff. There we go. All right, that's what I thought. Might short this again, guys. Here, I'm gonna put this up. Kind of a risky short right at the highs. Basically betting that we're not going to break highs and that's going to be a trap. 2 contracts here. We're green on the day, so far today at least. I don't know if that greenness is going to continue, but we're so far green. Market's pushing up. Now we're probably red a little bit if this trade continues. I don't mind shorting the top here. But once Nvidia starts to run, it could drag everything else back up with it. So I'm trying to be patient with this specific position and see if we start red action coming down, but who knows. We've kind of gone up and down today. Depends on what Nvidia does. I'm watching it close. Look at Nvidia at the top right. And again, if you haven't already checked out Top Step, it really is the biggest edge in funding. You can kind of see all my trades. I'm making there's only 74 cents in fees per trade. So I can get funded, which is this is a 50K funded account on Top Step, and then scale down to micro contracts. And if I lose, it's small. And so I can kind of limit my risk, trade small, let my edge really reflect and pay out. And that's what I've been doing. And it's genuinely one of the biggest edges in funding right now, in my opinion. Top Step gives you a demo. They test your skill with it. If you pass the test, they fund you. If you fail, you only lose what you pay for it. The monthly subscription for the base one is $49. And so if you lose, it's not the end of the world. If you pass it, you get 50K in funding, 90% split, and there's 0 commissions. And that's the biggest edge in funding, in my opinion. But they are a sponsor of mine. They pay me money. I'm definitely biased in their favor because they pay me money. Understand CFTC 4.41 hypothetical or simulated performance have limitations. We're probably going to cut this trade and be down about $40 on the day. I'm trying to let this candlestick play out, but it's just taking too long. Another retracement. Oh, sorry guys. Let me get this thing out the way. Yeah, I'm gonna cut it. Oh no. Oh, dude, I accidentally took the opposing trade. So what is this? 3 contracts up. Definitely mismanaged the trade here. Lost a little bit more than I needed to. I didn't mean to take this long position. I wanted to short it up here too. But I'll just cut it. I didn't mean to take that last trade, unfortunately. Anyways, we're down like 40 bucks, 50 bucks on the day. Could have been worse, for sure. But we'll let time play out, see if we get some volatility leading into the NASDAQ. Nvidia is what's dragging the market up. If you look at it, it's definitely been a tougher week for my trading. We have lost most days this week, I would say. At least most days. And really, the problem is I'm trying to trade chop, and the market's been kind of running a little bit. It's been running down, running up big. Yeah, I accidentally went the wrong way. It's all right. Yeah, so we actually just got into a nice little winning trade. We did take advantage of that downward pressure here. And we're still up on the rest. I'm going to add to this 2 contracts. Take a little bit more off there, lock it in. And again, this is a good thing about Top Step, is that I can trade micro contracts. If we get over $15 in losses on this position, we'll cut the rest. Yeah, we're out. Okay, so we got a little bit of a string of trades, good trades in there. We just made 3, 6, 8, 9, $100. So we just made a little $100 there. I think I'm probably still down on the day, but not much. Yeah, I'm basically flat on the day, so that's good. Again, it could be worse. It's just a day in which Nvidia looks like it's going to run again up there, so I don't want to get stuck in that either. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here. Again, if you want to check out Top Step, link is in the description. I love you all. Y'all have a great day. Tomorrow, biggest day of the week in terms of economic reports. Payroll data coming out next week, or tomorrow on Friday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Be here. Be ready. Be there. Be square, guys. Again, huge day of the week next week. Monstrous day. It has the potential to really influence things up or down, good or bad. And so be there. I'll see you guys later. I love you all. Y'all have a great day.